Or I was gonna say chop. Like if we were like, oh, this one ended up being 40 minutes, and this one was an hour, I could like take
Frankenstein
10 minutes.
it.
Yeah,
you fucker.
Frankenstein's monster.
Oh, he hit him with the Frankensteiner.
Oh, he hits him with the young Frankenstein. Mel Brooks with the young Frankenstein. That's the stupidest thing I've said today, for sure. Hey everybody, welcome to Pursuing Pixels. This is episode number 24, and my name's Kevin Portelli, and I'm here tonight with DJ Mandolini.
Hello.
And John Hines.
Hi.
And how's everybody doing?
We're doing good.
We're off to a rough start here, but we're
fucked up. No. No, we're good.
No, we're in good shape. We're in good shape, and we're back again to talk about some more video games. And I've been playing a new release of an older game, which DJ and I actually played a little bit of a little earlier today.
Heck yeah.
But we've been playing a little Super Crate Box, and I, for whatever reason, as simplistic as this game is, I can just not put it down. It's like, it's like the quickest burst of like, you could play it in probably as long as it takes for some games to load. It's like, you're basically the core conceit. It's a single screen arcade action platformer that your goal in the game is like these random crates, one crate at a time will appear on the screen, and you collect those crates to rack up your score. You get 1 point per crate, but every time you collect a crate, you get assigned a random weapon, which at the very start of the game, you have to collect crates to unlock more weapons. But after maybe about an hour or two max of playing, you've unlocked everything. So now you're just basically playing. And there's just 3 different settings or 3 different like single screen layouts. The game's only like $5. This is from Vlambeer or Vlambeer, I think is how you technically say it. And I really have loved a lot of their games. And I remember playing this like back either on, I think I played it on one, like a mobile device, a phone or something. I definitely had to play with like digital touch controls. And
was it out on 3DS?
I don't know. It very well may have been.
I'm trying to remember where I played it.
I think it's also, it's definitely free to play on Steam. Like you can just go on Steam and download it. Mm-hmm. I think it may have even been a Flash game or something like that when it came out originally back in 2010. But again, you know how I love my risk reward, and this game is basically that just wrapped up in a nutshell. It's like you go for these crates, you have to get these crates to get your high score, but you never know what weapon you're going to get. And you might get, some of them are, I don't want to say detrimental, but there are like, you get a disc gun that will ricochet off of the wall, and if it bounces off and hits you, it'll kill you. It can ricochet off and hit a bunch of enemies, and it can be super useful.
But you have to be ready for it.
Yeah.
Or it's constantly shifting your play style. So if you're used to controlling one gun and then suddenly you have another and you're in the mid shot or in the one set of mind, like it can really throw you off.
Yeah, and enemies will just keep swarming, and there's 3 different difficulty levels, and basically there's like a little fire pit at the bottom of each level, and once the enemies reach that fire pit, they kind of do, they'll loop back, they'll fall into the fire pit and loop down from the top of the screen, but this time they're like red and angry. They're not necessarily, they don't take any more damage to kill or anything, but they're just way faster, and it totally shifts like the rhythm of how you're avoiding the enemies and, whatever plans you had. And again, because your weapons are shifting constantly, and there's all kinds of different stuff. There's mines that you get, there's bazookas, grenade launchers, flamethrowers, all kinds of stuff, like a rail gun or a minigun, a machine gun. And at least for me, my like main strategy I've kind of employed, at least to get high scores, at least for me, I don't think they're actually high scores compared to anyone. Unfortunately, this game doesn't have any leaderboards other than local. But I just like wait till I get a weapon that I'm, overly either familiar with or just like, hey, this is good for the scenario I'm in, and just like clear as many enemies, kind of make it up so I can clear the screen a little bit, collect as many crates as I can until I get another weapon that I kind of like, and then kind of reset basically every little bit. But again, you can be clearing enemies constantly, but you're not racking up a high score. So you really have to keep going for these crates no matter what. And they can sometimes end up in a pretty precarious place, especially if they end up on kind of the top layer where the enemies are spawning. They can be a little tough to grab. So
yeah, when I was watching you play, I was, surprised. I was like, this doesn't look like it should be that hard. And then you gave me the fucking controller.
And for that matter, it doesn't, I don't want to say it doesn't look like it should be that fun, but it just looks like so simplistic. But it just like, I just play for like, I don't want to say hours on end because it's probably not that long, but I think like, I'm just going to play one more. And I just play one more after one more, and I probably end up playing like 20 or 30 more. And again, they're probably only a minute to 2 minutes each. I mean, they're really short runs, but it's really all about chasing high scores. If you're not into that sort of thing, I can't really recommend this game to you. But
it is a very like simplistic and rewarding like core gameplay loop.
Yeah, it just feels great to like chase your own, to just try to beat your own high score. Even just that simple conceit, I guess, is enough for me because it feels so good. And you do have to like just work and think on the fly. I know I've mentioned that before on the podcast and all different types of games, but I like when games just throw you a curveball and you have to adapt on the fly and like just use your instincts as opposed to like figuring out the game, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it feels really great to clear out like a whole row of, dozens of enemies coming at you. Like it's combat that feels good.
Yeah, Vlambeer knows how to make a game that just like, again, they made Nuclear Throne, which is the only other game of theirs I've played personally, but just the how tactile it feels.
Right?
Yes, and I've not played that. And Luftrausers, I want to say as well.
Oh, Ridiculous Fishing is one of the best mobile games of all time.
Mobile?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not familiar with that genre. With that genre?
that genre. But yeah, I'm really happy to have this on my Switch, especially like it fires up almost instantaneously. There's like there's no loading to speak of really, other than like the initial boot of the game, but even that's super fast. And like if you're just looking for something to fill a few minutes or kill some time on a commute, or again, if you're into chasing high scores or at least your own high scores, again, it would be nice to have some leaderboards. But again, I would probably be pretty demoralized by seeing some people's high scores and like, oh man, I thought I was even halfway decent at this game.
I'm into chasing your high score, so I may get this.
It's also easy to keep track of when it's like double digits.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But one thing that's nice, there is a battle mode, which I thought was maybe going to be like a versus mode, like we're just trying to kill each other. But it's actually, you just play, I think you can only change it between 5 and 10, but you're just like whoever can collect either 5 or 10 crates first. But because there's like extra, like other than like most of the guns won't hurt each other, like you won't be able to kill each other except for like the disc gun or some of those that will automatically do some damage to you. But it seemed like something about having two of us, like the rhythm of the enemies, like we would get really out of sync. And you when you die, you like, it takes maybe like 5 seconds to respawn or something like that. But in those 5 seconds, especially if we both died around the same time, like so many enemies would be spawning and piling up that it just gets insane. Yeah. This game is tough.
I think we also like, at least I would focus too much on what you're doing and neglect what the enemies are doing, and that definitely adds to the build up.
Yeah, it was fun. I don't, not a lot of depth in the versus mode, but definitely a nice little addition to the game for sure.
Nice.
So happy to have it on my Switch and happy to have it back in my life.
You know what I'm happy to have back in my life?
Yeah.
20XX.
Yes, I'm so glad you started playing this game.
Dude, I am gladder that I'm playing this game. I fucking love this game. Yeah, I've had a few successful runs, and I'd say I'm not someone who usually goes back and replays games, but like I'm still going back to 20XX, like especially because, we didn't know this before, but there's a couple extra characters you can unlock when you beat the game. So, and they've got, their own unique thing. Like there's a guy with a whip and other guy with like a hammer kind of attack. And there's even more to do.
I like the quick, like what you were telling me about the whip character too, how like you use your melee to recharge your
energy
gun that you also start with, like you have like a secondary weapon.
Energy. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So as you beat the bosses and stuff.
Yeah.
So how many characters have you beaten the game with?
2. So I have not beat it with the extra 2 characters that I unlocked.
Gotcha.
But I have tried. I'm just bad.
Yeah, it's really tough. And you've been playing on some of the harder difficulties,
yeah,
right?
like I now that I have beat it on the Defiant mode, like I'm like, I can't go back. I have to continue to do it this way.
Well, I'm glad I watched you play some, because like some of the platforming challenges are quite significantly different, because I was just playing on the normal mode, and we talked about this, I don't know, if maybe 10 weeks ago or something, but we've talked about it before on the podcast, so we won't dig too deep, I don't think. But yeah, just like seeing some of the different level layouts, because this is another like roguelike procedurally generated, essentially Mega Man X style game, if you're not familiar. And just the like different platforming challenges, like you were saying, I just assumed like it's just, the enemies are just going to take more damage, but it really is like tougher challenges though in terms of the level layouts.
Yeah, they do toss in a few like tougher enemies, and with the higher level enemies, it's not just more damage that they take, they also have different attack patterns that are harder to dodge, so there is some more variety there. But yeah, it is, from what I gather, it's like mainly like the level layout is just so like unforgiving in a way. Like,
yeah, there
really
was like projectiles, lasers, like all over the place. You were just like weaving through. I watched DJ play a run, which he happened to get all the way through. He's like, I'll just play a quick run real quick, and of course,
just a quick
DJ
run,
beat DJ.
Beat the game.
Yeah.
Just a quick 50-minute run.
But no, and to be honest, I'm not someone who cares too much about spoilers and stuff, and we won't necessarily get into it, but some of the final boss battles looked pretty cool. I liked how they incorporated a lot of like platforming. Like, it's not just the boss battle itself. Like, the platforming in this game feels really, really fun, and it's nice that they incorporate that into the boss battle. Kind of like we were talking about earlier, like the end of like New Super Mario Brothers Wii, like that Bowser battle where you're like carving through the castle and stuff. I just love that.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Give me that double jump.
Awesome. Well, we don't have to dive too much more into it if you don't
I'm going to keep playing, but no, we've covered this game to death. It's a great game. Get it.
Yeah, highly recommended. All right, John. Well, DJ and I have been talking a little bit here, so why don't you fill us in on a little Daemon X Machina, which I know you've been playing
quite a
lot
bit
of.
Yeah. No, it came at a great time for me. Like, I had a lot of stress in my life, so I really needed a game that, for me, I could just turn my brain off and just play for hours and hours on end. So what Daemon X Machina is it's a mech game. I think it's made by the same team that did Armored Core. And it's a action third-person combat game where you have these customizable mechs where you can get different weapons, you have customizable legs, left arm, right arm, body, and head, and they all have like dozens of parameters and different stats that you can customize. There's like a basic, like all around model that you start with, but the more you progress through the game, the more missions that you play, the more specified you get. Like, one is like slower, but it's more powerful, or one is like faster, but it's more fragile, or one that's like not necessarily as powerful, but it's got really good homing or like really good lock-on things. And the game doesn't do a ton to explain that to you.
I was just gonna ask.
Like, you'll get a thing that just has, here's a list of 30 parameters, and all the numbers are inscrutable and unexplained.
And you said this was a game you could turn your mind off.
I mean, it was a lot of trial and error. And like, so this game like kind of occupies in my head like the same space as a Monster Hunter does, where I played Monster Hunter, where I just would play a couple missions with a certain weapon type, and if it didn't click with me, I would move on to the next weapon type, and I just kept playing that until I finally found one that worked for me, and something that made the gameplay like rewarding and fun to do endlessly, because that's what you end up doing in those games is you kind of grind missions out, you gain more, either the currency, or in this case, like there's a mechanic where you can loot mech parts off of other mechs that you're fighting, and then you can use those to develop new parts, or you can just keep trying to loot better versions of those. and you just do that until you find a loadout that really works for you and like feels good for you. And it's not something that is immediately rewarding. It is something that, you know, you kind of have to work towards and feel like a different like loadouts, so something that like feels like good to you, the way that you like to play a game or like to play a combat game in this way. So like there is some investment that you kind of need to put in, but I've pretty much found my loadout, or like find the stats that I really want to work towards, which are primarily for me mobility. Like I like something mech that moves really fast or has like high stamina so that I can do a lot of attacks or different things, and isn't necessarily strong or like has high defense, but like I have the ability to move around a lot. And I think that that's a really satisfying mechanics. Like I think the way that they handle like aerial combat and like ground based combat feels really good. The way that they've like integrated like lock on mechanics makes it like it's not like necessarily like high precision like first person shooter. Like you can kind of like focus on evading fire while you have like these like processors that will automatically target towards things. So there's a lot of things happening on screen. I know that when I was playing it in front of you guys earlier before we started recording, that there was just so much information,
a lot of
It looked
numbers
insane.
popping up.
It was just like, what is going on? But in kind of in a good way. I was definitely enticed.
Yeah, it's like it may seem overwhelming, but when you're playing it, it does feel pretty simplistic, or at least like well communicated once you have played a few missions or whatnot. And I've definitely played more than just a few missions. Like you gain decals, and there's so much customization, like just even in the overall appearance of your mech. Like you can change the paint job, but you unlock decals for completing missions or completing side missions or side accomplishments. And I've already maxed out the decals for numbers of missions played. Like I have completely maxed out that skill tree or whatever. But there are so many like different mechanics. I'm at rank A, I think, for the missions, which I would guess that there's only an S rank beyond me, but the way this game progresses, it's impossible to predict what's happening. Like I would say like probably the weakest point for me, and as someone who has a very high tolerance for like anime tropes or just like JRPGs in general, like I've found myself skipping most of the cutscenes before each mission, or like basically any time in the game. Like
Yeah.
I get the basic point of like what the game is trying to communicate, and it kind of is beating it over the head like over and over and over again.
At least it lets you skip.
Oh yeah, and I'm very grateful for that.
And you don't feel like you're missing, I mean, obviously you're missing part of the experience, but you don't feel like it's like taking away from like, oh, I don't know what's going on story wise. Like,
So then I've also switched I know that some reviewers were saying that they found the in-game dialogue, like as you're playing a mission, like the different mechs or mercenaries will be talking to you as you're fighting. I switched it over to Japanese voice actors, and that cut down on the annoyance. It just kind of turned into background noise, as opposed to hearing like one mercenary saying, I'm hit, over and over and over again.
bunch of same old barks.
Right. So that, like, it's not bad. And then anytime like something significant in the mission happens, like I'll like glance down at the bottom of the screen, read the captions, be like, all right, cool, that's happening, and then just move on.
So is it a pretty big world that you inhabit in this game, or?
It's like mission based. So there's a lot of like, each arena has like, you'll start a mission and there will be an area that you can move around. And so I think each map has different areas, but like there's a zone that you need to be in for each specific mission. So it might move around the maps. So it always feels kind of fresh, and there's plenty of them. It doesn't feel like you're playing like the same 5 areas. Like that was a thing with Monster Hunter that like, you know, I've kept playing the same like areas over and over again, and I got to know them like far too well, far too quickly. Like there's plenty of variety, at least for this. And even within each mission, like the objectives will change. Some are escort missions, some are just plain like like clear all the enemies from a screen. Others are like specific duels with other mechs, and those last longer and are more like complicated, and they'll have various abilities. So I think it offers a lot of different like experiences that you can have that at least changes it up enough that it doesn't feel too tedious, even though I am, playing one mission probably 10 times just so that I can get all the like armor pieces that I need.
And are you just trying to get a higher ranking or finding more things on those missions? Or?
It's mostly finding new things. Like I've some of them, like I've pretty much gotten as high a rank as I can on the first try. It's not like I'm chasing like a better result. Like some of them I am like, they're at least hard that I haven't like gotten all the like cleared every side mission on the first go. But like for the most part, like once you beat a mission, you've pretty much beaten everything, and you're just grinding for more parts or for like more weapons or whatever.
And you're buying all of these things, or are you finding any of them like hidden in the levels? Or
so you the core gameplay mechanic is the factory, where you will like you will put in weapons to unlock new weapons that you can just buy in the shop, but like you can sell like I think you could sell a piece of your mech for like 400 coin, and then to buy one would be 100,000.
Jesus.
So there is like it's much cheaper to just like find them in the wild when they're kind of randomly generated within different categories. Like if you're playing an E rank mission, you're only going to get like some of the lower rank things, and even like the actual armor pieces themselves, like it's not like if you get an E rank or a B rank piece of armor, it's not necessarily going to be like overall better than an E rank. It's just going to be more specified to a specific thing. So you're not always swapping out like things because it's like, oh, this is just the better version of this. It's like, no, like this is actually just really hyper specified towards this play style. So like the stats don't always increase. It's just like, oh yeah, this is going to be all defense, or this is going to be all mobility.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. No, I think it's a great game for like if you just like really find the actual gameplay. Like I would recommend getting the demo of it, because the demo does do a really good job of like communicating what the like gameplay is. Like there are like it definitely does like get more specified from like that. Like if you like it can be a lot slower if you want to like get like sniper weapons, or if you want to get like more melee weapons. There are way more customizations, but I think the demo does a really good job of communicating what the general combat sense is. And if that appeals to you at all, I'd say like try it out, pick it up.
Yeah, it's been a while. So I did check out that demo around the time the game. I think it was even before the game came out. They did some kind of like beta demo, or something. But yeah, I remember checking out the demo and like thinking like they did a nice job of like breezing you through the like kind of tutorial section and getting you into like a real mission in the game, like not like something that was just
and the mission
playing
is
the tutorial and the demo's over.
And the mission is pretty much exactly what like all the missions are. Some of them are longer, some of them are like, oh, like explore this area, but most of them like are just like, oh, like here's these like set of enemies and defeat them all. So like the demo, at least what that they put before the game put out, I thought was a pretty decent job of like, this is what the game is.
Are there boss battles or anything, or is it just those like mech?
There are, and there's also a good way to earn at least money in the game, or also like the more time, like you'll have to defeat bosses multiple times in missions, and you can always replay those missions in order to unlock blueprints, which unlock like more weapons and stuff that you can build. So like online, they have a local and a like online network possibility, and I've done a lot of that just to like gain more experience, like fighting the same bosses over to unlock their blueprints, or to just gain money, because that's probably the quickest way. And also like you can play the entire like I think you can play the entire game co-op or single player.
Nice.
But I think it is also built more around single player, because I've also never played an online lobby without like a full 4-person team, and you are pretty lethal at 4 people. Like the bosses aren't necessarily scaled like online. So
Yeah.
like, if you go into a battle and you suddenly just have 4 times the firepower, and there's an ability where if you have like full of a bonus gauge, you can create a duplicate of yourself. So that's potentially up to 8 times firepower. Like some of those don't last very long, but if you're just trying to grind some experience out or gain some gold, like it's a fun couple seconds.
Yeah, it's worth noting that the game is very Daemon X Machina, that is
Yes.
very visually striking too. Like that really like crisp, clean, like neon cell shaded, not overly neon, but like there's definitely just very vivid, bright, vibrant colors. I really like the style of the game a lot.
Yeah, and it works very well. I haven't had any frame rate issues, which is surprising since it's like a massive amount of like lasers firing everywhere.
It's chaotic.
And, like 3D, yeah. But no, I think it's I really enjoy it as a good meditative, chaotic game.
Yeah, and something very different from being a Nintendo published game, different from stuff they normally put out. So.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, DJ, why don't we get back to you? And
Why don't we get back to me? Everybody listen to me.
and why don't we talk about a little Slain Back from Hell? DJ's back from hell for this episode.
Oh, wow.
Forgive me.
So Slain Back from Hell is a pretty simple, I don't know if I should say simple. It's a 2D, side-scrolling action platformer. I guess when I initially got it, I expected it to be somewhat like Salt and Sanctuary, like a game that's, known to be like a Dark Souls of 2D games or whatever. So I had that expectation going in, but, I think the combat is pretty simplistic in this game. You're just going through these 6 zones in a pretty linear fashion throughout the game. And, you've got, just a sword attack, a ranged magic attack. But, in all honesty, I think your sword attack is what you want to rely on most of the time. And then just like a lot of, mechanics, really to just, you need to time well, like you can dash backwards really quickly to dodge an enemy attack, or even your sword swings can like knock back enemy projectiles, or there's a parry attack that is really, for me, was one of my most essential mechanics. It was actually a really sweet mechanic because if you, time it right and parry like a giant demon's attack, it does like a little slowdown mechanic, and then if you follow it up with another attack, it's just so much more powerful, and it feels like it's got some oomph behind it.
It feels tangible.
Yeah. But yeah, you're just this guy that's, going through these different zones of hell and just trying to kill all the demon lords and whatever. You know.
Like you do.
like the title would suggest. But no, I was surprised at how much the timing aspect like worked really well for me. Like I imagine, I wasn't going to rely on it that much because, I think when I've played game like Dark Souls or whatever, it's like, okay, it's got like a parry ability, but like I don't really, trust my ability to pull that off all the time. But like this one, I kind of had to learn to, just know how the enemies attack. But once you get the parry down, like, you mow people down and it's great.
Do you feel like that's a little easier in like a 2D game as opposed to in 3D? Do you feel like that has any difference between Dark Souls and this?
Probably. I mean, it's more clear angles of where people are coming at you from and whatnot. But there was also a decent amount of variety that I was not expecting. Like, for the most part, like, you do move kind of stiffly through the levels. Like, there is some platforming that maybe can be a little maybe frustrating due to that stiffness. And, there are a lot of traps all over the place that, by the way, when you die, like they give you some gory deaths. But there's this one section actually in one of the levels where you turn into this like this wolf for a bit, and you're really kind of almost doing like an auto run section, and you're way more nimble than you are the rest of the game. And it was just like a surprising, like, nice little touch that really shook things up a lot. And I don't know, was a lot of fun. It was just like, oh, this kind of works. The platforming is actually not so bad in some parts. Like, this actually works as a platformer in a bit, not just like an action game,
like a hack and slash. Yeah.
Does it have RPG elements, or is it mostly just like an action where, like, these are the hits you can take, these are the hit, like, damage you will deal?
Yeah, it's pretty much, this is, you do get, like, you move on to this one area, and maybe like you get, your swords you can set them on fire or something. And those don't, I guess those do maybe, I guess you could call those RPG elements in a sense. Like, there will be someone who kind of clues you in when you enter a zone, like, hey, like, maybe this kind of attack is going to be most effective. So you kind of go in knowing, like, okay, I need to set up my swords to be fire or ice or whatever. Okay. But other than that, there wasn't any, like, increasing your attack power, increasing your health, increasing your mana. And there's like a couple hidden items you can find in the levels. I didn't find all of them, but they seem to, come together and make a pendant. And I'm sure something significant happens once that pendant is completed. But I did not did not do that, so I cannot report on that. I'm sorry. But no, it's pretty linear, and yeah, it's just kill them. Just hack, just slash.
Well, this is another game,
just get the timing down.
Definitely a visually striking, like, really kind of nicely animated pixel art. Like, again, it has that kind of gruesome, like, heavy metal, whatever kind of demon style. But it's like, really, I don't know, something about the animations. This game definitely caught my eye a few times, browsing through the eShop and stuff. So
definitely has a unique look to it.
Yeah, so. Like, it has like almost like a 3D-ish quality to some of the way things like move. Like, they look like they have some depth to the dimension in some way. So, well, I know you've been playing some other games, and I know this is a game that John has also put a ton of time into.
Another gruesome.
Speaking of hell-related games,
yeah, back to hell for some seconds. And I've actually never played any games in this series, and I know Doom
Neither
Eternal.
had I.
Oh, really?
Wait,
okay.
What?
Yeah, this is my first.
Had either of you guys played Chex Quest?
No.
What? Okay.
I think I know Chex. You talk about Chex cereal, correct?
Yes, Chex Quest, or Chex released a CD version of basically a Doom clone of Chex Quest that replaced all the demons with slime, and then had you in a giant, like, suit of armor that was just a piece of Chex.
Sounds like a better game.
It was what? Anyway.
Yeah, well,
so I'm playing Doom.
Doom 2016, I think that's the year it came out. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what it's referred to as, even though it's just titled Doom.
Yeah.
No, this is not a stiff game like Slain. This is very, very fast-paced first-person shooter, and I love fast-paced games. And it definitely incentivizes you to, not hunker down. It incentivizes you to go out there and, make an enemy stagger and then rip his ass out and crush his jaw. Yeah, I just, John, you've played more of this game than me.
So I am more of a fan of first-person shooters when they are more action-based, or like more, I don't know, like less of the shooty and more of the action. I basically only started first-person shooters after Metroid Prime, which is a baby's version of a first-person shooter. But Doom was instantly, it clicked with me just because of how much, like, physical, like, engagement there is between, like, just you and the world around you and the, like, enemies that you fight. I think a really satisfying part of the Doom 2016 like combat loop is that it constantly incentivizes you to either like approach enemies from a really close quarters like combat situation, or just like in a variety of different weapons. It like always encourages you to switch things up, or to engage in melee combat, because like if you do, I think it's a glory kill, that will give you health. Yep. So you like, if you're like low on health, you need to be close up to an enemy and like just get, and as soon as they start glowing orange, like you just go in for the melee kill.
Oh yeah.
Or if you're low on ammunition, you start
bust out the chainsaw, baby.
It is,
it's that risk reward as always.
It's such a satisfying like loop that they created, where like it constantly has you cycling through abilities and powers and like different like weapons that you have. So like one enemy might be like if you have a behemoth like going, you're mostly trying to avoid like it from a long range, but there might be an imp around you and you're trying to like engage with everyone like all at the same time. And like there are these portals that you use to summon demons on, and like they bring them on in a really like it just generates them in like such a high capacity that like it's just chaos all around you.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a satisfying experience that, like, as someone who doesn't play a lot of like traditional first person shooters, like it was just such a welcome experience, and I loved it so much.
Yeah, I mean, I think I feel like I've only been playing first person shooters that are like Call of Duty-esque lately, where it's just, you know, hunkered down for a while, like your health. I hate regenerating health.
Yes, I agree.
Like I miss my good old Red Faction days. Your little health kits. But yeah, and you get a double jump, Kevin. That incentivizes you.
Yeah, I've watched John play a little bit of this game, and I do love how like you get the enemies are constantly attacking you from all angles, and because of that like glory kill mechanic, you're constantly being like lured in one direction. Like you don't want to stop moving. You just want to keep. If you get into an open area, you're like, I need to kill some enemies. Like, where are the demons to blow away? Because, it just encourages you to play the game, I guess, instead of like be thinking like, what's my loadout? What's my, just keep moving forward.
Anytime you see just like one or two enemies on the screen, you're like, this is such a waste of time. Where are the 30 enemies? It's such a great game, and like honestly, like I really enjoyed the story. Like I thought it was a really fun and engaging way. Like the Doom franchise has always been, you know, kind of tongue in cheek, like, but I think that the way that they made like the whole story for this one, you're on Mars and there's a private corporation that is like found a way to open a portal to hell to like generate like energy,
solve the energy crisis,
right? Just like by, you know, we'll open a small portal to hell, you know, just it's really efficient and we'll generate a lot of profits, and then who could have seen that this could be bad? But it's really fun. Like the story itself is really fun, and like the gameplay, it's just
well, and the way the story is presented to you, it's, you know, there's no like real cutscenes. I mean, there are maybe like a couple that are really quick, but for the most part, it's, you know, people talking to you while you're going through the levels.
Yeah, there's actually a really great documentary series on YouTube from NoClip that I think they do a bunch of Bethesda stuff or whatever, but they get into Doom and they talk about like how much thought and how much time went into like crafting that opening, and like we just want you to get to like kicking ass right away. Like we want you to just be like, you wake up on like some kind of table or something, and it's just immediately like, get your gun, you're the Doom guy, start blowing away demons. And that's like, they just like, we don't want to waste any of your time. And that's something that, especially from Bethesda, you know, they're known for not necessarily wasting your time, but these games like Skyrim, these are just massive games that you're just, you know, just something very different, even though obviously they've been doing Doom for a while.
Yeah. And like, I think it does a decent job of like, I don't know, like I think it could be super easy to like get in a way where it's like, oh yeah, like you're just a real macho guy, like killing all these demons. Like, I don't know. It doesn't really get in the way of itself. It just kind of like, it's like, yeah, no, this is what you do.
Yeah, I am.
It looks like it looks like it goes for like the tongue-in-cheek approach a little bit. Like it goes for a little bit for the humor, even though it's like gruesome and brutal and whatever. But it does seem, from the little bits I've seen, it does seem like they're like leaning into like, this is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
So they're just leaning all in on that, I guess.
Well, and I
appreciate.
I don't know how many of the little like figurines you found in the levels. Like, there's a lot of like various things that are in each mission that you can replay as well. So like, if you miss something, you can always go back, and like each weapon has like a couple objectives that you can do to unlock like better like versions of it, or like upgrades for them. So like there'll be something where it's like, oh, you need to like perform a glory kill from behind on this many enemies to unlock this skill or something. But they also have secret like figurines in each one, and like, so they're all like little tiny like Doom guys that look like either like Nendoroids or like Funko Pops. And, like, every time you find them, like you see a little cutscene of like Doom guy just like interacting with them, and he's like playing around with them. It's like, oh yeah, I like this little dude. That's cute.
Yeah, they got plenty of little things to toss in besides just the main game. The one thing I do wish there was, like a compass or mini map thing, because there are like plenty of like, oh, like there's a one of the drones that has like a mod here or something like that. Like, I don't want to have to always like be pausing and going to the map and checking like which floor something's on. Like, just put it in the corner of my screen. It'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
I do love the map though in that game. I do remember that from watching you play as well. Just like it's very Metroid Prime style, like those like 3D like
every
vector
good game
maps.
Takes away from Metroid Prime.
I don't know about that. But it's kind of interesting because like Doom and what we started the episode with, Super Crate Box, are like these like, I don't want to oversimplify it, but you know, they are these just like relatively simple core mechanics that are just like basically just explored, whether it's again, not to, I can never think of the right word. I don't want to say a shallow experience with Super Crate Box, but it's a pretty
distilled.
Yeah, distilled is a much better word. Thank you. But yeah, it's like but it just explores like this simple idea as far as it can go, basically. In Doom, it sounds like they just like, again, it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's just like, here's some super satisfying combat mechanics. We're going to give you everything we got with those. Get straight to the point, and that's it. They're not wasting your time, and I really appreciate that with a video game, so that you guys are speaking my language a little bit, because I'm also someone who doesn't play a ton of first-person shooters, but the fact that this is sounding a little more arcadey is speaking to me.
Also, what difficulty are you playing on?
The normal difficulty.
Oh.
Okay, because they do have a permadeath mode.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Which is absurd for this game, but as soon as you said that you were replaying or playing this game, I was like, I gotta play on a harder difficulty, because like I 100% of this game, like unlocked every single thing, every upgrade for every weapon on the easiest difficulty.
Yeah,
but like it was super fun, like just going through and like trying every weapon and getting good at it. But like now it's kind of made me
wait. So you found all the secrets?
Yeah.
Oh my
man.
But I mean, yeah, like I had it on the easiest difficulty, so like
still, that doesn't.
Well, some of those are just like hidden. Again, I've just heard of like some other podcasts and watched some reviews and stuff, and I feel like there's some like platforming kind of challenges and stuff.
I've spent like, I would just, after I basically cleared a level of all its enemies, I would just go around to every single room and just like look around. Like, this is one of my favorite games.
That's awesome. And that's really promising. Again, being someone that's, number one, that you're able to like complete the whole game 100%, like being someone who doesn't play a ton of shooters, like and being a franchise that's just been around forever as the first person shooter almost. It's like, I was a little bit almost scared off by this game. Just like, I don't think I have the chops to play a first person shooter like this.
The like lowest difficulty level, which is what I played the whole game on, like it does have some challenges, but like at the same time, like it's a very forgiving mode, like especially like if you're like me and haven't played a lot of like first person shooters. But like the nice thing is like you can go back to a level and I think it'll let you have every unlock that you have, so you can replay the first level with all the weapons that you get, because you unlock them as you go through the story mode. but I think it's
So do some of the secrets or whatnot in the earlier levels?
they don't require you to have anything that you need.
I was gonna say the double jump.
No,
Okay.
but the double jump does offer like you to get to some areas.
It helps.
Like, it's fun.
Yeah.
Like it's not like sequence breaking because you obviously don't have it as you're clearing it for the first time. But it's fun to like go through like the first level and have all of the weapons and like you're just fighting like the first enemies and you're like, I wonder if I can take down 20 enemies with one shot.
Nice. All right, so that pretty much wraps it up for Doom and Slaying Demons, but next week we'll be back for our Game of the Month episode with Cave Blazers. We'll be taking out some goblins and whatnot in the caves, and really excited to talk about this one. John will be back to join us. Randall will be back to join us again. And until then, we'll catch you next week.
See ya.
Take care.
Bye.
Quick outro, and then we'll wrap it. Cool.
Snap it. Tap it.
Grab it.
All right.
Frankenstein.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, man.